How much of a down payment is required for people to bring to the table?
Yeah.
And then is there a limit to how many loans you will do for someone if they keep finding great deals?
Sure. So now to answer the question directly, for a short-term loan, a fix and flip, I would go up to 90% of the total cost. So that's 90% of both purchase and renovation expenses. For a normal 30-year mortgage, I will finance up to 80% loan to value of a purchase. And then for a cash out, I would go up to 75% of the market value.
Got it. Okay, nice. And then, so if somebody keeps with conventional mortgages, right, you're capped, Fannie and Freddie cap it at 10, I believe. Is there a cap on these, or can people just keep buying?
They can keep on buying. So there's no, in our internal standard operating procedures, there is no guideline about the amount of mortgages somebody can have out with me. Now, once we get high on up there, now we have clients with my firm that have 20, 30, 40, $50 million out with us. Now, obviously, once we get to that point, we'll want to make sure the payment history is there and the collections are there on the properties, but there's no set in stone. So if somebody hits that 10 wall with the property, 10 wall with Fannie and Freddie, and they want to come to me and they want to purchase another 10 more, there's, it's gas pedals down. Pay you stay, you don't, you won't. We'll keep on going. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people ask about, they're concerned about running out of down payment money. Is it possible to combine like a private loan with somebody or partner with somebody, and they provide the funding for the down payment, and then use that to cover the 20 to 25% for the DSCR loan? Or how do you handle that?
Sure. So in most circumstances, outside investors are fine under, let's put it under a few scenarios. So what I will tell you, I'll start with what's not fine. So, we can't allow for a second lien on the property. So you come to me, you get money, and, you're ready to put your money down. You just put a second lien on the property. Like Lima wouldn't. Well, Lima doesn't allow for that. Mm-hmm. Now, if it's a situation of, like a real estate fund, a bunch of people are throwing money into a pot, or, outside equity from other investors, and absolutely, there's plenty of different scenarios out there where, people can raise money, can put money together, and, help purchase more properties. Matter of fact, I've had plenty of, there's this one Airbnb investor that I work with very frequently. He's the guy that does the $1 million properties a month. So yeah. I really like him. He keeps coming back with $1 million property every month. Nice. But, but his structure is a real estate fund. So him and a bunch of buddies, they throw money into a pot, and then, they're all doctors and lawyers, something ridiculous. And they throw money into a pot and buy another property, and then they keep on coming back. But at the same time, the best way to build equity, the best way to get your money back is the BRRRR method. So, I can 100% keep up with, I want a 30-year mortgage. I want to keep putting my 20% down or what have you. But the BRRRR loan method is the better way to get your money back. And that's probably what 70 to 80% of my investors do, because it works, because you get your money back. So now I'll put it to you this way. The typical client will come to me at the beginning of the year. We'll probably do between 10 to 15 bridge loans. And then when it comes time to at the end of the year, after they've stabilized everything, got rents up, or, Airbnbs, whatever they want to do. And at that point, I'll lend off the future value, pay off the previous debt. And then they walk away with a big old, 6-figure check. And we just do it all again come January. So that model works better, in my opinion, just because,
I'm sorry. Can you explain that? Just break that down. Sure. So the bridge, I don't think everyone's familiar with what a bridge loan means. So how does that model work?
I use it as a colloquialism. So like a bridge is synonymous with fix and flip. So, these investors come to me for purchase and rehab loans.
Got it.
And then at the end of the year, we refinance those fix and flip loans and then put them into the rental loans, completing the BRRRR method, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. And so they're taking out multiple as they work on them, and then they'll just refinance them into one loan across all the rental properties. Yeah.
But the majority of the time, one loan for the entire portfolio. It's the reason why they do one loan as opposed to just individual refis is because, there's a lot of cost savings involved, and also logistically, it's easier to keep up with one mortgage payment instead of 15. So, you get one mortgage statement every single month as opposed to 15 of them. Yeah. So just a little bit easier on accounting, your to your accountant that you were talking about at the beginning of our conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Awesome. Yeah. And so the question that I get probably, or I'm sure you probably get this 20 times a day, is where are rates right now with all the craziness that's going on in the world? And, the Fed just seeming to increase it every single meeting exponentially. So where are rates right now? And do you see, I guess, how does that impact this program? Do you see this program lasting if rates continue to rise? And I guess we can talk about that next, but where are you at right now?
So speaking about rates, I'll give a direct answer just so there's no tiptoeing around it. Rental rates right now are between the 6s to 7s, industry wide typically. If you want to rate in the 6s, do lower LTV. If we're maxing out the LTV, it's going to be higher 7s, mid 7s, something like that. So just to give everybody a direct answer. Now, fix and flip loans, those have, not largely unaffected, but, Fed rates does affect fix and flip loans, but it's a different calculus than a 30-year mortgage.
Yeah.
But, typically for a heavy hitter, I can get in the 7s for a fix and flip loan. A heavy hitter being like, I flip 5 homes a month or something ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And then, for like a first timer, it would be 10 or 11%, typically depending on deal scenarios, just to give everybody a direct answer. But I want to say this in context. So, the sky's falling, Fed rates are going up. Yeah. These are the same rates I would have given to somebody in 2018 and no one complained then. And we did $1 billion that year. Mm-hmm. So, you can still make money and have your mortgage rate at 7%. So want to confirm. Now, where are these rates going to go? The simple answer is up. So if the Fed keeps messing with the rates, they're going to continue to go up. Now, as far as what that means for my business and my ability to lend money. Now, the best advice that I got, I actually saw it on LinkedIn yesterday, and I wanted to remember to say it for the podcast. But you're supposed to marry the property, but date the rate. So, rates are transient. So, they can go up, they can go down, they can go sideways like they are right now. But the what I would say, advice for your community. So these rates are not here to stay. We're talking about the next couple of years, they're going to continue to increase. And we're going to feel some heartburn from that. Yeah, some deals may not pencil, or you might have to get a lower LTV. Okay, fine. But, 3, 4, 5 years from now, I'm bullish that things would come down. That's not a prediction. I don't have a crystal ball, but, I think there's a reasonable assessment can be made once inflation gets back to the Fed's target of 2%. Once we get there, rates are going to go down. And that's assuming that you believe that the Fed is on the right track to get them down to 2%.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I say all that to say, now, people can still cash flow in the 7%. People can still cash flow in the 8s. People can still cash flow in the 9s. So the rate, more times than not, I'll say this very candidly, more times than not, people aren't refinancing their properties right now because, it's like, I don't like the rate. Well, do you need to refinance? Yes, I have bridge debt. I got to get out of it. It balloons in 3 months. Well, we have to refinance, friend. Are you making money? Yes. But the rate's 7.5. Are you making money? Yes. Then what's it matter? If you're making money at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if the rate's 6% or 15%. Like if you're positive cash flow, then do the deal.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, the majority of people that I'm setting them up in loans that are not permanent. So last year when rates were 4.5, everybody's getting a 30-year fixed. It was like, look under your chair, you get a 30-year fixed. Everybody gets a 30-year fixed because this is the permanent debt solution for these properties because you're not going to get any better. Nowadays, I'm transitioning to 5/1 ARMs, or I even have a even more tricky product. It's a 5-year interest only. Now, I can talk a little more about how that works or the reason why I'm pushing that one more so than a 5/1. But in situations,
if you can kind of break down just the general difference between the two.
All right. So a 5-1 ARM, it's still a 30-year mortgage. So it's still your plain Jane mom and pop 30-year mortgage. The difference is your rate is fixed for the first 5 years. And then the latter 25 years are adjustable based off market conditions. If there's any mortgage nerds, we can talk about it, offline. But your rate will become adjustable. So there's a possibility your rate could go up, to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11% after the first 5 years, which makes people uncomfortable, obviously. But at the same time, you're locking in a lower rate for those 5 years. Now, the reason why, and then also on the other side, I have a 5-year interest-only product. Now, people hear interest-only and they think 2008 and they freak out. But this interest-only product is unique where it does not balloon, meaning that the entire balance does not come due after the 5-year term or 5-year fixed period. Instead, it converts into a 25-year fully amortized but adjustable rate mortgage. So it's very similar to the 5-1 ARM. So it's still adjustable rate after the first 5 years. The difference is, it's interest only versus fully AM. Now, people would ask me like, hey, why would I go with interest only over a fully AM? Because a fully AM product, I'm actually paying down principal versus interest only. I'm just paying cost of the money. Well, here's the reason why. And here's the reality. And people bring out their calculators. So if you look at a 30-year amortization schedule, so I'm looking at every single payment that I'm paying over the course of 30 years. You're not paying any principal down hardly in the first 5 years anyway. So what's the point? Yeah. I'm going to hold this loan for less than 3 years, Brandon. Well, why do a 5-1 ARM? Because you're not paying down any principal. It makes you feel better. I understand it. I mean, at the end of the day, I want to be able to feel like I'm getting forward traction, building equity. I get that. But at the same time, the reality is you're not any better position having done that than the interest only. Not to mention the 5-1 ARM payment, since it's a fully amortized loan, it has a higher payment versus the interest only loan. So then that might be the difference between you cash flowing like a madman and, throwing money down the hole and just interest only, barely paying down your principal. So there might be hundreds of dollars difference in these payments. If it's a larger property, thousands of dollars potentially. So for people that are looking to refinance right now in this interest rate environment, that know for a fact that this is not going to be the permanent debt that they hold always, now, and forever, amen, 5-year interest only makes sense. Because 3 to 5 years from now, statistically speaking, you investor types want to refinance and get out of that debt and get into something cheaper, reposition your portfolio. So this week, I've submitted 2 rental portfolios. Both of them were 7 figures, multiple properties, 15 properties. Both of them are 5-year interest only because they know, 3 to 5 years from now, they're going to reposition that when rates get better into a 30-year fixed and then never touch it again. Right now, we're in a weird spot. Rates are going to continue to go up. So do you want to lock in for 30 years? Doesn't make sense because there's a reasonable potential that the rates are going to go down between 3 to 5 years from now. And that's the bet that a majority of investors that I work with are making. Now, are they right? I don't know. But at the same time, they're positioning their portfolios for the success here and now. And then, ultimately 3 to 5 years from now, they should be able to reposition themselves and put themselves in a even better situation than just locking in a 30-year fix right now at the current rate environment. So that's a very long way of saying the difference between 5-1 and 5-year IO. But, I like to highlight that difference just because, it just makes sense right now. May not make sense 2 years from now, but right now it does.